Well, hello out there to anyone listening. This is Onion Ring Sasquatch ORS at the movies, and we're doing a very special Halloween episode.
Spooky.
This is your boy.
Spooky.
My name is Greg. My rap handle is G Money Clip, and with me today, as always, is the warrior of the wasteland, the Ayatollah of rock and roll, Commando Cody. How you doing?
Hello, I'm good. I'm real good.
All right. Tonight we're going to do a special Halloween episode over here. We're going to watch the original Night of the Living Dead from 1968.
Barbara.
And we're going to talk over it. And if anybody wants to listen to our rambling, you're more than welcome to.
It was filmed near us, right? Pittsburgh?
Yeah, I was out in like rural Pennsylvania. Something like that.
Yeah, you can go check out the cemetery.
Oh, is that a thing? You can
yeah.
go do the tour of the cemetery. It looks like it's in the middle of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you what, you guys want to get... we'll get our copy rolling here. We're going to get to the start here. This was sort of a spur-of-the-moment thing. I thought, what might be a nice thing to do for Halloween? Because we did the Halloween episode, sort of, the Halloween review.
This movie's public domain. Do you want to tell them why it's public domain?
Oh, we'll get there. I'll show them here when we get the movie going. What you want to do is... get your film up to the very first starting frame there where you start seeing them driving along the road. We'll go ahead and get things going. Now, the first time I saw this movie was way back in 1986. They showed this on television in a colorized version. This was back around the time where Ted Turner was doing his whole, we're going to colorize every movie.
Did it look good or just look weird?
It kind of looked weird. It was like... It looked like it was pastels. Everything was kind of a pastel color, and the zombies' skin was like green. So they kind of look kind of like a cross between zombies and Martians, if that makes any sense. It was really weird. Here we are. If you notice Night of the Living Dead there, the reason this is in the public domain, originally the movie was called Night of the Flesh Eaters. And what they wanted to do, they had a hard time finding anybody who would release the movie uncut. They found one distributor, Walter Reed, not the hospital. He decided, I'll release it uncut, but we want to change the title. So they changed it to Night of the Living Dead. Well, they had already done the titles, and Night of the Flesh Eaters had the copyright notice. So when they switched that and put Night of the Living Dead in, they forgot to put the copyright notice on it. And back in the 60s, if you did that, before the Copyright Act of 1976... if you had your movie out and didn't have the copyright notice on it, it instantly became public domain.
Man.
So now that's why there are like 25,000 versions of this on any kind of DVD or Blu-ray. Anybody can get a hold of it and put it out. And
Could you imagine
terrible quality, but this one's really, really good.
Could you imagine how many... Yeah, this is a good copy, man. I'm looking at this. Because, see, initially I watched this about 9 years ago, on YouTube, because it's public domain. It could be on YouTube, and that's how you're probably watching this right now. And let's talk over this. This is your first time watching it. Don't watch it with us talking over it.
Please don't.
But yeah, so this kind of started the whole zombie craze, though, didn't it? This was.
Oh yeah, this is way ahead of its time. I just want to mention the music here. The music was not done for this movie. This is actually music from a movie called Teenagers from Outer Space, which was a Mystery Science Theater 3000 episode. So when I saw that for the first time and I heard the music in that movie, I'm like, well, wait a second. This is from Night of the Living Dead. And Teenagers from Outer Space came out in 1959, so they just like lifted the music from it and used it for their movie. I also like those opening shots, too, because it shows that they're in the middle of frickin' nowhere. There's all these backcountry roads they're going up, and if anything happens, they are completely on their own. But yeah, this movie, this really started the zombie craze, because like you said, there was nothing before this. Anything before this movie came out that did anything with zombies, it was always some kind of a weird voodoo thing. Yeah. They would always be on some island, and some guys would be doing weird chants.
Well, that's
and
how
then like one zombie would come back to life and run around or something. So this is like the whole start of the zombie invasion craze, and this movie kind of sets up the rules for everything that's zombie related that's been going on, pretty much for the last 50 years since this came out.
First time I watched this in high school. At that point, I had really disliked black and white movies. they kind of were a turn off for me. This movie and another movie were on YouTube. I forget what it's called. I think it was called Don't Go in the Basement, I think it's what it's called. Something like that. Some horror movie, same time. Those two movies together changed my mind. I was like, whoa, these are actual movies.
Oh, yeah. See, we wore that tape out when I was a kid. We played that thing all the time. As I said, I was like 11 years old. This is 1986, and we just played that tape constantly.
1986?
Yeah. And,
so it's pretty old at that point, too.
oh, yeah. Well, I mean, it was almost 20 years old. And I remember, I remember my dad talking about how much he liked this movie. And I told my grandpa, my granddad on mom's side that we watched it, and he was less than thrilled with my dad for that. And it's funny because it's relatively, tame by today's standards. But the funny thing is, this movie came out October 1st of 1968. And the rating system, the MPAA rating system, didn't go into place until November of 1968. So when they had their premiere in Pittsburgh, they had like an afternoon show, and because there was no rating system, like anybody could go in. So you had all kinds of kids and teenagers and everything in there, in is what would obviously be an R-rated movie like a month later, and kids were just absolutely terrified by what they saw on the screen because it was way above anything that had been out up to this point as far as horror movies went.
Yeah, this is we're really desensitized.
It looks so much better in black and white, though. The way they colorized those old movies was so screwy. Everything looked... It was all pastels. It was just bizarre.
There he is, the first zombie.
First zombie. Well, the funny thing is they don't even call them zombies in the movie.
Yeah.
The word zombie is never said the entire show. I mean, the closest... They call them ghouls. And, I think they call them something else, but it's the idea of the modern zombie, that the recently deceased are coming back to life, and you have to kill them by shooting them in the head or something like that, and that's about the only way to get rid of them.
His driving gloves are so sweet, but then he ruins it with the pens in his pocket. Those fucking glasses. He's like Poindexter, but has a fast car.
It looks like he should be working for NASA or something.
Barbara.
Oh, here it comes. This is the line of the movie.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
It's so great. And they even use that in Shaun of the Dead. Have you seen?
Yeah.
Like, Ed gets on the phone. Sean's mother's name is Barbara. So he gets on the phone and he's like, "We're coming to get you, Barbara."
See, I like how they present it, though, too, because you got to think about it in context of people.
Yeah, they would have no idea what's going on at this point. They just see some guy kind of walking along.
I mean, now we know, of course, it's a fucking zombie.
Yeah. Well, even then, they don't have, like, the heavy zombie makeup on them.
Yeah.
They don't have, like, all the fancy Greg Nicotero rotting flesh effects that they've got and everything, like Walking Dead. And even the remake they did of this in 1990 had the fancy zombie effects.
I think I've only watched the new one once, and that was with your marathon.
Oh, last year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was okay.
Yeah, this was George Romero's first movie that he directed.
Yeah, I was about to ask you, is this like is he a student or just graduated?
No, he was, they had a company called Image 10, you saw in the credits, and they mostly did stuff like, one of the things they did was, I think there was another group called Latent Image that they kind of came from, and Latent Image was doing things like photographing food for like advertisements and catalogs and stuff. So those pictures you see at McDonald's on the menu board of like, hamburgers, they would do that sort of thing. They would take the pictures. He had actually done some stuff, some short movies for, where is it here? Oh yeah, he had done shorts for WQED in Pittsburgh,
okay,
public station, for a show called Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. So yeah, George Romero got his start making little short movies for Mr. Rogers.
Wow.
That's crazy. So this movie was made on a budget of about $114,000.
Really? That's pretty good though for this time.
Oh yeah, well I mean even if you
that's not
adjust
inflation?
No, that's straight. Adjusted for inflation, that would be about $827,000 today.
Wow. I mean, where do you get funding for this? I mean, if you're just doing that kind of stuff, I don't think anyone would have that kind of money.
I think they all just kind of scrape together. They use mostly, local actors.
Could you imagine you spent all this money, made this huge hit, you spent that little money, make a huge hit, and then you fucked up? How much money did
On
they
public
lose?
domain?
Yeah.
That's a good question. They made quite a bit of movie theatrically. I think they said in the first 10 years that it was out, because it's one of those things where it would go out to like drive-ins in the summers, and it would play kind of here and there, but it wouldn't get like a 4,000 screen release like they do today. And they said that in about the first 10 years of its release, it made about $12 million in the U.S. and about another $18 million overseas.
Wow.
So, assuming the same rate of inflation, that'd be the same as if it made $217.5 million a day.
Jesus.
So Blumhouse, got nothing on these guys. But then, yeah, when it comes to home video, you're kind of screwed because any bozo can put a copy of it up, like we're going to do later.
This is almost an exact shot of one of the last scenes too. That fucked me in the head so much. I was like, I'm getting a little ahead of myself here, but how this movie ends was the reason I loved it so much. I was like, what?
Oh, don't wreck the ending. Yeah, not yet. We'll get to it. I just love you can see there's nothing out there. Like they are in the middle of fucking nowhere, and I had relatives that are kind of like that. They live about, nothing like this so much, but you get an hour or so northeast of Columbus where they are. And when I was a kid, that was the sticks, man. There was like nothing out there. But even they had lived in like a real small kind of town. But there were, several houses around. Nothing like this where you just have like the one house in the middle of nowhere. It's weird, you hear all the thunder, but I don't think it ever rains in the movie, does it?
No, it's almost like the first time you see is that the ghoul or whatever they call it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost related to them.
Man, I must have watched this 100 times when I was a kid. I always just love the idea of being out there in that house, getting surrounded, and you've got to like fight your way to survive. I always thought that was a great setup. It's like a siege in a way. Here we go with the stuffed animal heads. That's something Romero comes back to quite a few times. He does that again in Dawn of the Dead when they're in the mall at the I think it's the gun shop in the mall. They cut to all the animal heads.
What do you think the purpose of that is? Almost like humans were hunting them, and now the humans are getting hunted by humans.
Yeah, that could be.
I might get a little too deep there. But
I don't know. They also, of course, did it again in the remake. It's like an homage. And of course, the phone never works in these movies. See, in a way, this is almost like maybe like a Western. How they're in the, you see other movies that have kind of come out in the years after this, like maybe Assault on Precinct 13, or just other Westerns where, they're in the jail and they're surrounded. People are trying to break in and get them. And they've kind of got to defend the jail or the police station or whatever.
yeah.
And you're either surrounded by the Native Americans, or zombies, or gang members, or whatever the case may be in those movies.
Greg,
What's that?
did you just compare Native Americans to zombies
And gang
and
members,
gangsters?
yes.
Oh my gosh, man, get out of here. No, I could see that. Yeah, I think I'm with you too. I kind of like you're talking about Assault and the remake, the mall. Which one was the mall again?
That was Dawn of the Dead was in the mall.
Yeah, I always liked that idea of, especially the remake Dawn of the Dead, where you're kind of hiding out in there and you kind of have this little
All right,
Haven.
what do you think's better, fast zombies or slow zombies?
It depends, because I grew up kind of like the slow zombies, like this right there.
Uh-huh.
But then you have movies like, when I was a little bit older, you watched, was it 28 Days Later and 28 Weeks Later?
Yeah.
Where the thought process of, oh shit, look how quick they're moving. And that was a little scary, but when they're slow, it kind of adds a whole new suspense to it, because you're kind of like, oh shit. Kind of like with Halloween, when you see him walking real slow. Creates a whole nother level of suspense. Or if you get a big group of them together, you're like, oh shit.
Well, I think them being slow also lures you into a false sense of overconfidence. Like, oh, look how slow these guys are. We can take care of them, no problem. Then you look up and there's like 6 more of them coming.
Yeah.
And there's more. And eventually, they will surround you. They will overwhelm you. It's only a matter of time. Like, you can fight them off for a while, and you can do pretty well for a while. But they've just... It's like... What's the Doors song where they say, they've got the guns, but we've got the numbers? So it's kind of like that. Oh, all the blood and everything they use in this movie is chocolate syrup.
Really?
Just like Psycho, yeah.
Makes sense when you got black and white.
Yep.
But how ridiculous would you feel as an actor? You're gonna like scream
Just
and react
laying there in chocolate syrup for your close-up. Yeah.
and then screaming about chocolate syrup.
As soon as they go cut, you're like, oh, yummy. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't talked about it yet, how big a deal it was. And you can't really think of it now because it's so far removed, but in 1968 to have a black man as the lead character in this movie was just groundbreaking, just completely earth-shattering.
Yeah, and it's something I never thought about until like I'm trying to think back how many times I watched this, and it's probably about 4 times. But it's something I never really thought about until.
Oh, I didn't think about it either in the 80s. It was just kind of like, yeah, that's the guy. It wasn't a big deal back then either, but in 1968, man, it was mind-blowing. It was just so far ahead of its time.
We just saw something that I think George A. Romero does something that I really like with all of his zombie flicks. We kind of see it in the later ones more, but there's like intelligence with them. Like we got to knock out these lights, and then in future films, they were like holding guns. Like they kind of could remember previous.
Yeah,
lives.
that happens in Day of the Dead, and also especially in Land of the Dead.
Yeah.
But even in the very beginning, the first zombie at the graveyard, he's got a rock and he breaks the window in the car.
Mm-hmm.
So right from the start, these guys are at least smart enough to pick up tools and use them. And you don't get that. I don't think outside of Romero movies you get that very much with the zombies doing that sort of thing, do you?
There was one film that I watched, and I don't know what year it came out. I think it was also in high school for this. I know it was in high school. I guess in 2011, right before I graduated. It's called The Crazies, and it kind of reminded me of George Romero flicks.
You know why?
Why is that?
Because it was a remake of a George Romero movie.
Really?
The Crazies. He did that one in 1972, a few years after this.
You blew my mind.
Seriously,
yeah, it makes sense.
That was a remake, yeah.
Wow.
You didn't know that?
No.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, this looks like a George movie.
Yeah, that's exactly,
that makes sense.
Exactly what it was. You had guys in hazmat suits running around, rounding up people, and there was just some weird thing going on that was making everybody go nuts.
Yeah. You know, I kind of felt bad.
Slow, you can overpower them, but there's just going to be so many of them.
And I feel kind of bad for George too, because he kind of, before he passed away, his films weren't that good. At least I didn't watch any of the newer ones.
George had kind of a weird career. He was always like a real independent type. Like he was perfectly fine making small movies with his Pittsburgh crew like this and the Crazies and Martin, and just his own unique, individual, kind of quirky things. Anytime he ever had any mainstream success, yeah, here we go. See, we got more of them, like a lot more all of a sudden coming in. Like, this is going to be trouble. But it's like every time he would have any kind of success, it would be because of a zombie movie.
Really?
You know, Dawn of the Dead would come out and make money, and Day of the Dead would come out and it would do okay. But then after that, other than Creepshow or Monkey Shines, there really wasn't a whole heck of a lot that he got made that got seen theatrically even until he started doing zombie movies again in 2004, I think it was, with Land of the Dead, and then he did a couple more really bad ones after that.
Yeah, that'd be about right. That was my first Romero movie.
It was sort of milking the cow there a few times. And none of the new ones are as good as the older ones, I don't think.
Then the last few were released under, what's that brand?
Dimension or something?
Yeah, they're kind of like famous for B movies or straight to DVD.
Yeah.
It'll be straight to Netflix.
Which is probably where they should have gone. I think the one was about kids doing videos for the internet. And then there was another one where there was like an island or something. I didn't see it. I saw Land of the Dead. It was kind of meh. Had the guy from The Mentalist in it. And John Leguizamo, who ruins every fucking movie he's in. Can't stand that guy.
He kind of reminds me of like an older John Carpenter too. Their style and how they got started.
How they both kind of do their own thing.
Yeah, and more indie, and kind of got big off of like a horror franchise.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of what they're known for. And I always, once I realized who George was, especially in high school, and then I think Call of Duty did something with George. Where he was kind of a boss in one of the zombie things. I always thought his movies were like a continuous story. Like the first one was like The Outbreak, and then the one with the 80s when they're like underground. And
I think they can be, but I think you can also kind of look at them separately. But I mean, I could see how they... Because this one is kind of a very contained movie. It just has a beginning, middle, and an end.
Yeah.
But I could see how you could look at the others...
Like they kind of reminded me of in my mind they were separate outbreaks, but the same world. Like say this world we got the outbreak under control, and oh shit, it's back.
Yeah.
And then each time it would get worse and worse and worse.
I know you're afraid. I'm afraid too. But we have to try to board the house up together.
See, this is so different from how they do Barbara in the remake.
You understand? We'll be all right.
I'm trying to remember the remake. How was she different?
She was like Rambo. Here she's like catatonic the whole time. She's pretty much useless after the beginning part. And she sort of starts that way in the remake, but by the end she's running around like Sigourney Weaver with all the guns and blowing people away, and completely different. I don't know, they wanted the tough woman. Even by the time 1990 rolled around, they had to put that in there. You know what the weird thing is? Because it's public domain, anybody that wanted to do a remake of this could do it.
Really?
Yep.
Let's make our own remake.
Night of the Living Dead. Come back at the end of the horror marathon. I'll be there. Stay up for 24 hours straight. That's pretty much what I look like. We're getting into a lot of nailing stuff up. You have any relatives that live out in the country?
No, not really. I lived in Virginia. I knew a few friends that lived way out. Or one of my friends had grandparents that owned like a whole hill in West Virginia that we'd go play airsoft in. It's like a whole mountain.
Nice.
And that was pretty out there. But yeah, it's I know what you mean. It's very, even if you dialed 911, you're talking like 15, 20 minutes before.
Yeah, that, and there's always like bits of wood and stuff you can find laying around to just
Yeah.
like pound nails in. Like my grandma and grandpa on dad's side were the ones that kind of lived out in the sticks, and my uncle, aunt, and cousin kind of lived at the bottom of the hill from them.
Mm-hmm.
And every time we would go over there, it was like cool, just because it was so different from where we lived out here in the burbs.
No, it's
Like if you went walking down one of those like streets, if you got past the houses a little bit, it was just pitch black at night. There was nothing out there. It was great.
yeah. I always when I go to buy a house, I definitely want to live out in the country. I don't like the city. Living in the city too much.
That's wrong. I want you to count some nails. Pick up the big
So the Internet Archive says this is the most downloaded movie ever.
Really?
So there's like, it says as of November 2017, it's been downloaded 3 million times.
From the
I think just from the Internet Archive. Whatever, that's all they said. Which I guess this would be 3,000,001. But because anybody can get it, it's okay. Very, very popular.
I like how this is something that I always enjoy from movies, or makes me hate movies, is how they tell you the story
Uh-huh.
and don't force feed you. Like, he's kind of like, hey, I found out that they don't like fire, as if it was a normal conversation. And I enjoyed that about this movie, where some movies are like, they force feed you and tell you every little detail about everything, because we're not sure how he got here or where he was going or where he's from.
No, that's what he's telling us now. He's telling us
Yeah.
about the diner and the truck.
A big gasoline truck came screaming right across the road. But there must have been 10, 15 of those things chasing after it.
Now, of course, if you have the money, you could show it. But on a minuscule budget, you gotta kind of have to tell it instead.
Yeah, and I like that. He's telling in a way that it's like a normal conversation.
I could just see that the truck.
Otherwise, you get the opening of the remake of Dawn of the Dead,
Those things were catching up to it.
because they had a bunch of money to throw at it. So they could
Yeah.
show you all the chaos erupting, and it was really cool.
Right across the road.
But there's something to be said about using your imagination, too.
It myself. Went right through the guardrail. I guess the driver must have cut off the road into that gas station by Beekman's Diner. It went right through the
Yeah,
building.
Dwayne Jones here, he
Gas pump and never stopped moving. By now it's like a movie.
never really had a big career in movies after this. He had actually been a teacher before this.
Really?
Yeah, George said he was just the best guy that read for the part. He wasn't trying to do anything crazy by casting a black man as the lead.
What's funny though is I think he's the best actor in this movie. He's really good at acting.
Yeah.
Does a good job at it.
Yeah, he died way too soon. He died in 1988. I think he was like 51
Oh
years
wow.
old. Had a heart attack.
If there was anyone there who could help me. Was when I noticed that the entire place had been encircled. Wasn't a sign of life left except. By now there were no more screams.
Yeah, see, I don't know. I don't think the fast zombies ever really made a whole lot of sense, at least physically to me.
I was alone.
Because if they're dead and they're rotting,
60 of those things.
how would they be able to keep running at like a dead sprint as fast as they
Yeah.
can after any kind of length of time? They wouldn't have the muscles that they would need to do that.
Yeah.
I think the whole idea of the slow shambling kind of zombie, like the muscles and the coordination isn't there and they have trouble moving around, is much more quote unquote realistic.
Yeah. If you another issue I have too is like only the brain can kill them.
Mhm.
How are they moving their whole bodies and stuff like that? You know, they need some sort of energy source. I guess you get deep enough and then you could figure it out. But zombies are pretty
Something
fucking
like that.
unrealistic.
Now they did a spin-off series of this Return of the Living Dead. Did you ever see any of those?
Is it?
That's,
Yes, yeah. It's
the one with like
where
the punk rockers
yeah,
and they're actually
the
looking for
morgue.
brains and they kind of turn it into like a comedy.
yeah,
At least
like
the
a
first one. I haven't seen any of the others, but
Toxic Avenger style.
yeah, that was sort of a spin-off, which is why they used Of the Living Dead in the title.
Was that
And
George
they
as well?
do no, that wasn't him. That was I think, gosh, one of the guys that produced it, produced this one, also produced those, and they kind of debunk some of the things you see in this movie. Like I think in that when they try to kill one of the guys by sticking like a pickaxe in his head, but it doesn't kill him. So in those movies, there's like no way to actually kill them. If you chop them into little pieces, they'll all still be alive. But they even
Their
mention
arms
this
and stuff
movie.
walking around.
Yeah, they even mention this movie and say, "Hey, you remember hearing about this thing that happened in that movie? Well, that was based on some real life stuff, but they got some stuff in that movie wrong. Like if you shoot him in the head, it's not going to kill him."
And Johnny kept teasing me and saying, "He's coming to get you, Barbara." And I laughed at him and said, "Johnny, stop it." And then Johnny ran away. And
Well, that one too. They had actual people coming out of the cemetery too, right?
Yeah, like crawling up through the
Yeah.
graves and everything.
Yeah, I've only seen that one once. I didn't see any of the other ones that followed up.
And he grabbed me. He grabbed me. And he ripped at me. He held me and he ripped at my clothes.
I think you should just calm down.
Oh, I
Get me out of here! This bitch crazy.
Johnny, help me! Oh, help me! And he wouldn't let me go. He ripped. And then Johnny came and he ran and he fought this man.
And then you left him.
I ran.
You left his ass.
Oh, she had to leave before he got up and started chasing her too.
And Johnny didn't come. We had to wait for Johnny. We better go out and get him.
Oh no, you ain't getting out of this house.
Go out and get
I just
Johnny.
got done nailing up all these boards and everything. I'm not taking
Yeah.
that stuff down so you can look for your brother.
Don't you hear me? We've got to go out and get him. Please! We have got to go get Johnny! Please help me! Please!
Don't you know what's going on out there? This is no Sunday school picnic.
Don't you understand? My brother
Here we
is
go. We're
alive.
about to get real un-PC.
No! My brother is not dead!
He just went all NFL on her. Is that
This-
Joe? Is that Joe Mixon or Ray Rice?
This movie kind of reminds me of like a Alfred Hitchcock style too. The music and the acting and
Like the TV show or like Psycho? You mean?
the movies, the Alfred Hitchcock's movies.
That is a very old-timey radio.
Gotta wait for it to warm up.
Well, even then, it's those dials.
Because of the obvious threat to untold numbers of citizens, and because of the crisis which is
And how many movies and stuff copy this? Like turning on TVs or the radios, and they kind of give you a description and storytelling advice.
Oh, even the remake of Dawn of the Dead, the first thing that you see is like the, well, during the credits is like the TV broadcasts kind of explaining what's going on too.
Yeah, which one had the crazy preacher? Where he was like,
Oh, that's
Then
Dawn.
when-
That's Dawn of the Dead, both of them.
yeah, when hell is full, the dead will walk the
And
earth.
there's no more room in hell. The
No
dead
more
will
room
walk
in
the
hell.
earth, yeah. And the funny thing is, the preacher in the remake is Ken Foray, who was like the lead in the original Dawn of the Dead.
say they are ordinary looking people. Some say they appear to be in a kind of trance. Others describe them as being
Then which one was it where they had the military base? It was underground.
That's Day of the Dead.
Day of the Dead.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the
that's a
third
good
one.
one.
so. At this point, there is no really authentic way for us to say who or what to look for and guard yourself against. Misshapen monsters.
Have they found the gun yet? You got all these deer heads. You know there's a gun somewhere.
An organized investigation is yet underway. Police, sheriff's deputies, and emergency ambulances are literally deluged with calls for help. The scene can best be described as mayhem. Mayors of Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, and Miami, along with the governors of several eastern and midwestern states, have indicated the National Guard may be mobilized at any moment, but that has not happened as yet. The only advice our reporters have been able
It's funny that they're waiting to mobilize the National Guard. I feel like nowadays, if someone stubs their toe, they're state of emergency. Guess that has to do with funding too.
Yeah, it could be like how far away, if this stuff is all going on in these big cities, or if it's just out here in the sticks. I imagine it's going on everywhere at the same time. I don't know if they ever say what it is that causes it. I think it's kind of mysterious. I don't think they ever tell you what caused it. It's just that it's happening. Oh, looks like Ohio State beat Michigan again.
That's right.
People setting out burning couches and flipping over cars.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've just received word that the president has called a meeting of his cabinet to deal with the sudden
So,
epidemic of murder.
since they're afraid of flames and lights, does this seems kind of odd? Does this mean they can't go out during the day too?
No, you see them out later in the
Yeah.
day.
So,
I think it's just one of those things where the situation is scarier because it's nighttime, because everything's scarier at night. It's the same reason anytime you see a horror movie now, it's like, oh, the daytime scenes, nothing's going to happen. As soon as the lights go out, it's like, oh boy. It's getting dark. The Conjuring's about to kick into gear. Or it's getting dark. Hereditary's about to get scary. Or it's dark. The Babadook's going to come out. It's always nighttime.
Babadook. It's even crazy to think this movie cost $100,000. You know, like you could nowadays standards, you could easily make this with a couple cameras and a few of your friends.
Late reports reaching this newsroom tell of frightened people seeking refuge in churches, schools, and government buildings, demanding
Maybe, but again, even today's standard, $827,000 is dirt cheap to make a movie.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, hell, even Blumhouse spends like $3-5 million on those. Or even like one as big as Halloween, they only spent 10.
Yeah.
And the horror genre has always been great for getting returns on your investment for that sort of thing. That's why so many guys that want to make a movie, like Sam Raimi, it's like, okay, we're going to make a movie. What are we going to do? Oh, we're going to make a scary movie. Why? Because we can do it relatively cheap and probably, make some money on it. Because those always do really well.
Even the shitty ones, which the majority of the time they make pretty good.
Unfriended.
Yeah. 1 and 2.
Yeah. The movie was so terrible, yet it somehow they got a sequel.
And the first one, I don't even think budget reached $1 million.
I wouldn't be surprised. It's so stupid. There it is. You're in the sticks. You know somebody's got a gun somewhere. Just like over at my aunt and uncle's house, I always had a couple hunting rifles around. And a couple deer heads on the wall. Of course, I don't know why they wouldn't have it on a rack. It just seems kind of dangerous to leave it sitting in a closet somewhere. Not have to worry about the kids finding that one.
I found a gun and some bullets out there.
We're just not even going to discuss the fact that I just bitch slapped you. Knocked your ass out.
It's better to let it pass.
Just like any
Trying to
other
be nice,
abusive
I got you some
husband.
shoes.
Yeah, yeah. Bought you a gift.
We gotta be all right here.
Hey, this is in the 60s. This is way before it became bad to slap a woman around. So it was okay back then.
Hey, she slapped him first, though, man.
That's true. Although that didn't work for...
Bound to come
God, which one of the Bengals players punched somebody. Not Joe Mixon. This was before that. He was in a nightclub somewhere, and I think some girl slapped one of them, and he just hauled off and slapped her back. And of course, they gave him all the shit in the world for it, like it was his fault. It's like, man, she punched him first.
Look, I don't know if you're hearing me, but I'm going upstairs now. If anything should try to break in here, I can hear it from up there, and I'll be down to take care of it. Everything is all right for now. I'll be back to reinforce the windows and doors later.
I don't think she's hearing anything.
Okay?
Just like all women.
Earth to Barbara. Earth to Barbara.
Civil defense officials in Cumberland have told newsmen that murder victims show evidence of having been partially devoured by their murderers.
There you go. I don't know if the voodoo zombies were ever cannibalistic before this. So the whole idea of them eating people is new in this movie too, I think.
I'm sure this lady just with their face missing and skull exposed.
I like how they got the blood splashed up on the wall there.
Chocolate sauce.
And I guess that shows with her face being all messed up, that's why she's not coming back to life.
From witnesses to the effect that people who acted as though they were in a kind of trance were killing and eating their victims prompted authorities to examine the bodies of some of the victims. Medical authorities in Cumberland have concluded that in all cases, the killers are eating the flesh of the people they murdered.
Ew.
Repeating this latest bulletin just received moments ago from Cumberland, Maryland, civil defense authorities have told newsmen that murder victims show evidence of having been partially devoured by their murderers. Medical examination of victims' bodies.
Imagine if this was all just like a giant War of the World style prank. Everybody out there is just like, we're just messing with you. Oh my god, he shot him. He set Bob on fire. These guys aren't playing, man.
You know, I didn't even think about this. This is kind of reminds me of War of the World. The radio and I like how in the remake they got that guy, they casted that guy perfect, the balding guy from the basement.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, in the remake, the young guy, the chucklehead's got all the Pittsburgh Steelers stuff on. It's like, he deserves to die.
That's the cellar. It's the safest place.
And then you didn't hear the racket we were making up here.
How are we supposed to know what was going on? Could have been those things for all we knew.
That girl was screaming. Sure, you must know what a girl screaming sounds like. Those things don't make any noise. Anybody would know somebody ever needed help.
Look, it's kind of hard to hear what's going on down there. We thought we could hear screams, but for all we knew, that could have meant those things were in the house afterwards.
And you wouldn't come up and help.
Well, if there were more, the racket sounded like the place was being ripped apart. How are we supposed to know what was going on?
Now, wait a minute. You just got finished saying you couldn't hear from down there. Now
See, I like how they kind of have,
it would be nice if you get your story straight, man.
and again, whether it's intentional or not, I don't know, but with the casting, now you have all this like racial tension going on here too. If it was just another white guy that was arguing with him about everything, you don't get that extra kind of layer of stuff going on.
All right, why don't we settle this, mister? We came up, okay, we're here.
And that wasn't very long after the Olympics with the guys doing the Black Power salute, and Vietnam was still going on.
Well, 68 too. That's huge for the civil rights movement.
Oh yeah. All kinds of protests and marches, nothing like today.
Martin Luther King died that year, right? He died in 68, right?
Could be. That was the year Bobby Kennedy was shot. All kinds of crazy stuff going on.
Well, I still think we're better off up here.
We could strengthen everything up, Mr. Cooper.
With all of us working, we can fix this place up in no time. We have everything we need up here.
We can take all that stuff down.
You see, I never understood this conflict because it was like,
You got a million windows up here. All these windows,
if it does happen, like shit goes to, the shit hits the fan up there, just go to the basement then. Like I never understood the conflict of, no, the basement or up here. It's like, why not both? Fucking tortilla commercial.
There's going to be 5 or even 10. There's going to be 20,
I think he's worried about, maybe sneaking out the back or something if those things bust through one way. And if you're down in the basement, there's nowhere for you to go if they decide they're going to break that door down.
No, I agree with him. I'm talking about the guy that wants to be in the basement. It's like, why can't you just both? So he wants to bolt it up now. It's like, you just close the door and do it up then now. It's the ghouls aren't that...
But down in the cellar, there's no place to run to. I mean, if they did get in, there'd be no back exit. We'd be done for.
Fool.
So funny that and the handshake. It reminds me of my grandpa. He literally did the same.
You kids don't know what you're talking about. It's your rock and roll music and your posters on the wall.
In 1968, that'd be about my grandpa's age too. In this.
You two can do whatever you want. I'm going back down to the cellar, and you better decide.
Is he still around?
No.
And I'm not going to unlock it again, no matter what happens. Now wait a minute, Mr. Cooper.
He died.
I made my decision. I'm going to make yours. Now wait a minute. Let's think about this. We can make it to the cellar if we
Actually, it's coming up on 3 years.
If we do decide to stay
Okay,
down there,
like I
we'll
think
need
in
some
one more
things
week,
from up here.
3 years.
So let's at least consider this a while.
You box yourself in the cellar and those things get in the house, you've had it. At least up here you have a fighting chance.
They're still just moseying around out there.
Yep. We got to cut to the zombies, show you they're still there.
A lot out back, too.
A lot of locals from Pittsburgh running around dressed up as zombies. See the hands reaching through the window. That is such like something Resident Evil took.
Yeah.
Like first couple games, especially when they're like straight zombies before they started doing the whole alien plague thing. These guys would just bust through the windows and. So much stuff that it takes from this movie. Yeah, I think the rumor was originally that George Romero was supposed to direct the Resident Evil movie.
Oh, really?
The first one, yeah.
Yeah, he was
And they
supposed to
were
reboot it soon with a TV show or a new movie.
No, like he was supposed to do the first Resident Evil movie back in like 2000 and whenever.
Yeah.
Early, when the first one was getting ready to come out. And then they decided, no, let's make it stupid and get Paul Anderson to do it. Not Paul Thomas Anderson, because that would be cool.
And something that always...
Oh, the naked chick zombie. There's something for the kids at the afternoon matinee.
something that I think The Walking Dead also kind of might have taken from this is the noise aspect. It's almost like noise is what's drawing them to the farm. Because why else would they be coming to the farmhouse? There was
Down
like
in the middle of nowhere, yeah.
one maybe. So it's like they're...
You gotta fix these boards. You're crazy.
The noise and the light and everything. That's why if you go down in the cellar and shut the door and they don't make any noise, they ain't gonna try and get in.
Go down in your damn cellar. Get out of here. I'm taking the girl with me. I'm gonna leave her here. Keep your hands off her. And everything else is up here too. Because if I stay up here, I'm fighting for everything up here. And the radio and the food is part of what I'm fighting for. Now if you're going down the cellar, get.
See, I also like how the conflict also adds another layer to things. So the humans coming together, they also have this dispute.
Tearing each other apart. Usually you would think, okay, with an outside threat, everybody's got to band together to fight it. And it's like, no, we're just going to yell at each other and have all kinds of conflict like that. The same thing happens in Day of the Dead, too. All those guys in the bunker just hate each other's guts. They've been down there for so long.
Yeah.
And they're just yelling and screaming at each other all the time. Instead of, focusing on the millions of zombies outside.
Just love that whole base. Like you have the fence around it, and then you have like the fake house.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about? That opens up, and you take the elevator to the base.
I mean, Mr. Cooper, with your help, we could...
With my help. Let him go, man. His mind is made up. Just let him go.
Wait a minute.
I think they did such a good job on the casting too. I really can't. I mean, Barbara gets a little ridiculous, but I think that's her purpose. She's supposed to be insane, lost her mind.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like the casting did really well. Really good actors and actresses. See, it's like what? It took them like 30 seconds to do that. It's like, why can't we just
Not even. Just throw the bar up.
leave it open, man? I'll hang out up here till shit goes to hell.
Hey, kid. He's wrong, you know.
You know how I can tell this is a good movie?
How's that?
Well, just a little reference here. Me and Greg just watched a terrible Russian musical that I had to watch for class. And that movie, 10 minutes felt like a fucking eternity, and I feel like we just started watching this and we're already halfway done. More than
Yeah.
halfway done.
Stay up there and let him.
Whereas that movie, 5 minutes, was
Well, that was a musical. We don't have anybody dancing and singing in this one, so that we don't
Thriller,
have the
Michael
long,
Jackson.
drawn-out stuff that. Yeah, they could do a Thriller-like number.
I wasn't about to take any
Really be ahead of their time.
It is crazy to think they remade this almost exactly. It's like, why would you?
Well, part of that was the money thing because the guys who had made it in the first place, with the whole video thing, kind of got shafted on that deal. Just because public domain, there's no money coming in because anybody who wants to can throw up a copy of it.
Mm-hmm.
And unless you get a copy to do like a really okay, this is the quote unquote official release and have everybody to kind of participate in your behind the scenes stuff, which wasn't around in 1990 when they did the remake. They were trying to get some more, money out of the property. So let's do a remake of it. And the remake didn't do very well though.
You know what that reminds me of? A 90s remake because they couldn't do it how they wanted to do it originally. Fucking Star Wars. I kind of, was like, I couldn't do these things.
Funny thing is, in 1998 they did a 30th anniversary edition of this on DVD,
Uh-huh.
and the producers, not George, he wasn't in on it, but the producers totally George Lucased it.
Really?
They shot new footage
No.
30 years later,
How could you do that?
inserted it in, re-edited the movie, put the new footage in, cut some other stuff out, put a new musical score in, which is just terrible. Put a new epilogue in at the end that takes place a year later,
Really?
and they put it out as its own DVD, here, 30th anniversary Night of the Living Dead, and the people get it, and it's just totally garbage.
Wow. Did
Version,
you watch
the only
it?
thing missing is Jar Jar Binks. I did. It is absolutely miserable.
Oh, man.
Don't do it. If anyone out there is thinking about watching the 30th anniversary edition of this movie, do not do it.
I was considering
Do
it
not.
for the epilogue, though.
Do not. Do not. Cody, do not.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. Did you see, we're watching the Criterion version. At the beginning of it, did you see...
Shh, no, we're not. There's no logos on this version.
Oh, yeah, we're not watching the... Well,
You'll be able to tell
when we
because
recorded
it's
this.
gorgeous transfer.
but did you see the names listed there? The foundation?
Oh, yeah.
The George, the Lucas Films Foundation?
Yeah. Yeah.
So they took part in this.
I mean, no, I didn't see those.
What is at the top left there? Is that a fuck up?
What, in the top left corner? I don't know, maybe a camera lid on the lens?
Yeah.
Maybe?
No, it's not. That's part of the basement, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Maybe it's something like that.
I'll take good care of her, Helen. She's all I have. Why don't you go upstairs now?
Yeah, and they also establish here, too, that the bites from one of those things will kill you, and when you die, you come back.
Yeah, it's kind of set the standards for zombie flicks.
Yeah, for everything. I mean, this one really put the rules in place. Before this, they didn't have any of these sort of things. Then after this, everybody that does these sort of movies and shows, they have the exact same rules in place.
Yeah, and if you don't follow these rules either, you're not really a zombie movie.
Yeah. I mean, 28 Days Later did it differently. They had the fast... They weren't really zombies, though, in 28 Days Later. They were infected with some virus.
World
that made
War
them
Z.
Crazy. World War Z. I read the book. I didn't see the movie, but I know it was way different than the book.
Oh gosh, yeah, Brad Pitt, you fucking ruined that, man.
I don't know if it was all his fault.
It's the book was so good. Like, you could have just made like a found footage documentary. Like, you're interviewing these people and it cuts to the clips of what they went through. But yeah, it's totally different. They're Tel Aviv. They come up with a great idea where what's like in the book where they were going to build a wall, and the zombies start piling up.
Yeah, I saw that in the previews. They're like climbing on top of each other.
Yeah, what the fuck? And they're running way faster than Usain Bolt. Like, these are ungodly fast. So it throws you off. It's not scary. It's not that good. It's essentially an action movie that Brad Pitt bought the rights to and put himself in the middle of.
Well, I think the stupidest thing about that movie was the idea that, zombies aren't going to eat people who are sick. If you have some kind of a terminal disease, you are not going to be able to get attacked by a zombie because they don't want to eat you.
they're picky.
So even in the United States, like, everybody with HIV should be getting totally missed by a zombie. There should be like thousands of cases of this happening. Yeah. And it's not until he sees it happening in Tel Aviv or whatever that he realizes, something's not right. It's like, you should have been able to see that in Philadelphia, dude, where you started this shit.
The author of that book put so much into that world. So much. I couldn't imagine how much he thought out. Like, every little detail was thought out. And then
you know who that is, right?
No.
The author who wrote it, Max Brooks?
No, what did you do?
That's Mel Brooks' son.
Really? So that makes sense. Is that real, or are you fucking with me?
No, that's real.
Really?
That's real. That's his kid.
Yeah, man. He put a lot of thought into that. Well, I mean, you read it, you know. Mm-hmm. I recommend that book, man. They put so much detail into that world.
He also did the Zombie Survival Guide. That's pretty good, too. That has all kinds of helpful tips as to what you should do in a zombie invasion, how to survive, what sort of weapons you should use, what sort of weapons you shouldn't use, what sort of places you should hide out in, what sort of places you shouldn't hide out in.
And zombie flicks are my favorite version of horror. Not because they're scary, but it's always, it's almost, and it's for a lot of people too, it's almost fun to think about. Society falls apart and you just get your gun and you go survive. And
go hide out in the woods, or you go someplace and fortify it and just shoot anything that comes near you.
Yeah, like when I was a kid, I really didn't even like Coheed and Cambria, but then I watched their music video back when MTV still, it was the ass end of it.
It's been a while.
Yeah, the ass end of it. But there's a great music video of Coheed and Cambria where he's running out in the woods and he sets up all this stuff and just things like that have always interested me.
Was it zombie related or was it more like Y2K?
It was zombie related, yeah. No.
We're going to go out in the woods before the computers crash.
Funny story about Y2K. My dad, back then, it was one of my first early memories. My dad had to stay at work. He worked at an auto parts store. He had to stay at work, and his job was just to be there in case the computers did crash. So it was very serious. Y2K was very serious.
It's so funny how much people talked about that, and then, of course, nothing happened.
It just turned over.
It just went, boink, it's now 2000. That's it. And everyone was kind of like, oh. So I guess spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on survival gear was kind of silly.
Yeah, but there's just something about, like, just you and your friends board up the windows and you just eat your fucking canned meat and you just hang out. I don't know why it's so interesting to me, or so it's something to daydream about.
Well,
like what you're
Cowboys
playing.
and Indians again, man. It's like a siege mentality.
Yeah.
You're stacked up in there and you got to rely on each other to survive. Youngstown represent.
I think nothing really did this before, which I think probably got it from the idea of War of the Worlds, like you.
So it's kind of like documentary style too, where you got the TV broadcasts and the radio kind of feeding you the information, and you just sort of cut to what these guys are doing and just watching them do their thing.
And that's scary to think about because it seems real. Mm-hmm. Because you think this time everyone's watching the news and that's how you get all your information. It's before the internet. And to see something like that where it looks very real.
It's way before cable news. This is where you had like the 3 channels. And you had to use the rabbit ears.
That satellite, you recall, started back to Earth, but never got here. That's the space vehicle which orbited Venus and then was purposely destroyed by NASA when scientists discovered it was carrying a mysterious high-level radiation with it.
So here they're kind of hinting around why this is happening.
They sort of talk about this thing like maybe that was something that caused it. Some weird form of radiation.
obvious our best move is to try to get out of here.
How are you going to get over to that pump? Look.
You're coming from a meeting regarding the explosion of the Venus probe, is that right? Yes, that was the subject.
The guy in the coat there on the left is George Romero.
Oh wow, man.
The guy with the microphone. Yeah.
Wow.
Way before he got the big glasses.
I'm gonna say he's missing his glasses. Coat's the same though. And it kind of seems like zombies are kind of on the downswing now.
Oh, I hope so. They've been oversaturated for so long. Oh my gosh. And these things come and go in cycles. I mean, you had the original set of George's Dead movies from 68 to 75. And then they kind of went away for a while, and then you had like the parody things where you get zombies in Bud Light commercials.
Yeah.
And it was sort of the thing. Tom Savini talks about this in his commentary for the remake of Night of the Living Dead, where when 1990 rolled around, they needed to find a way to make zombies scary again, because you know, they were able to do fancier stuff with the makeup to make them look creepier. And that's where, but because they had been kind of a joke for a while, because that's sort of these things, they always have like a peak and then they sort of have a downfall, and then they become, once they start getting parodied all the time, that's when you know that's kind of the cycle's at an end, and it's going to go away for a while until something else maybe sparks it in another 15, 20 years or something. Brings it back up again.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think you could look at this latest wave as maybe even starting with 28 Days Later.
Did you say so?
In 2000 and, when was that, 2002?
Sounds about right, yeah. I was pretty young when I first watched those, when they were a big thing. And it was something I watched once and almost refused to watch again. And it definitely took me a while to watch the sequel, because that first one really scared the shit out of me as a kid. I was 9 or 10 when it came out, and it scared me so bad, man.
Yeah.
I had a group of friends whose mom used to babysit me a lot, and they put it on, and it bothered me so much.
Oh, it's definitely disturbing in a lot of ways. And, I mean, you had that one in 2002. 2004, I think it was March, you had the remake of Dawn of the Dead. And that summer, you had Land of the Dead. George Romero comes back into zombie movies in 2004. 2004, I think, is when the Walking Dead comic started.
Okay.
So it was like around that time it really started ramping up.
With good stuff.
And then, you know, you've kind of... What year did the TV show start? Was that
2010.
10? Okay.
10, yeah, October. We're actually getting ready to hit the eighth year it's been on.
And I think
started October 31st.
There were 2 other George Romero movies. But I think Shaun of the Dead was also in 2004.
Okay.
So, I mean, you had all this sort of stuff coming out around the same time.
God, that's a movie I watched on repeat, because...
That's a great movie.
It would have been probably about 05, 06. That shit was constantly on Comedy Central, so I was always watching.
Oh my gosh, it would have been cut to shreds.
Yeah.
That would have been awful. I remember seeing that in the theater, though, when I was out. That was great. I was laughing like hell.
I'm trying to think of some other zombie movies that came out when I was a kid that... Because one of those things I was always interested in, really liked the idea of.
Well, they had some of the... Oh gosh, some of the silly ones they did. What was that one? Warm Bodies or whatever? Where they...
Oh yeah, that's when I was in high school.
That was
2011.
Maybe, yeah, something like that. It's basically Romeo and Juliet.
2013. This is after his high school. Yeah.
He had some crappy straight-to-video ones. They did a different remake of Day of the Dead, which is funny because it also had Ving Rhames in it, who was in the remake of Dawn of the Dead. But he's not playing the same character.
Oh, dude. Oh, I know what we're skipping over.
Yeah.
These were huge when I was in high school. I can't believe I forgot all about these.
Okay.
You had the video game, 2 of them. Jesus, what? Oh my God.
Resident Evil?
No, Jesus. Valve. What the hell? Why am I forgetting this? I put way too much time in them.
About?
It was just zombies, man. You get point A to point B and you just kill a shit ton of zombies. What the
Sure it's
hell?
not Resident Evil?
No. Oh, Jesus. The second one came out in 2009.
Left 4 Dead.
Left 4 Dead. Jesus, man.
Yeah, Left 4 Dead was a couple big games there.
A big time for me in zombies was...
I've never played them. I've
So-
never had a system fancy enough.
Watched Zombieland.
Zombieland, there you go.
That's a good one. And then right after Zombieland, I had a friend and me. We grew up together, super into zombie stuff. We had left Zombieland and immediately went over to GameStop and pre-ordered Left 4 Dead 2.
They're supposed to be doing a sequel to Zombieland?
Yeah, that's what I heard. But somebody won't sign on. I can't remember who it is. Can't remember if it's the original director.
Probably Eisenberg.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought they had finally reached an agreement like they were going to do it, but I haven't paid attention. Zombieland was kind of okay. That was supposed to be a TV show originally.
I enjoyed it a lot. That was a great movie.
That was supposed to be something that was going to be a TV show, and they just decided, we'll just make it a feature-length movie.
So that must have been... I'll look it up here real
I
quick.
think that was 2009.
Yeah, that was 2009, yeah.
So yeah, I think it's finally starting to wind down. Like you said, Walking Dead's probably going to be ending soon because all the cast members are going on to film careers.
So yeah,
Take away the main characters. The book is still going, the comic book.
So 9 years ago, which is disgusting to think about, 9 years ago was Zombieland, and then that following year, almost exactly a year later, would have been Walking Dead.
Okay, yeah.
And I think that was the pinnacle of 2010, 2011 would definitely be the pinnacle of this recent zombie.
So I wonder if that's why they didn't get a TV show out of Zombieland, because they knew Walking Dead was going to be starting out.
Yeah.
They probably figured they couldn't have two competing zombie things.
As soon as we get to Willard, we'll call them. They might even be there.
I know.
October 31st, 2010. I remember it a lot. that was just
Oh, is that when the
mind-blowing.
show started?
Yeah,
that
man.
makes sense.
'Cause
Halloween?
I helped my friend move, and then his mom was like, "Thank you for helping us move on Halloween." Gave me a shit ton of candy, and I went home and watched that. And it was so good, man.
I watched the first season and the second, and then I kind of just dropped out of it because I had read the books.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, you guys are changing so much stuff from these books, and I get they don't want to do it panel by panel, but
We're safe now. But there's going to be more and more of those things.
when they fired Frank Darabont, and then like all the guys that wanted to work with Frank Darabont, like ended up leaving the show too.
Yeah.
Because they're just like, yep, we're out of here.
Yeah, it's I don't know if you watched recently, man. It's gone from like a fantastic show to like something you might catch on the Sci-Fi Channel. It's gotten weird. It's gotten a little weird and a little cheap.
Well, the second season was definitely not that great, and then I heard it got better after that, and then everything I've heard lately is the last couple seasons have not been very good.
No.
Too many people to worry about, too many characters to focus on. And that's kind of the way the comic book is, too. If you're reading that, it's like, okay, we've got all these characters. All you're waiting for is, okay, who's going to die in this book? Because you've just added another character earlier in the book. So you're not going to kill the person you just introduced. So somebody's going to have to die because you got too many daggone people.
Oh, dude, we're also forgetting about a big one that I enjoyed a lot. Planet Terror.
Yeah, I guess.
Planet
The
Terror.
Planet Terror, half of the Grindhouse, the Tarantino, Robert Rodriguez double feature.
That was so good, man. We're also forgetting about...
Yeah, that was a weird movie. Were they really zombies, though? Because they seemed like normal, functioning people, but then they were weird. At least the soldiers were weird. I don't know. I only saw it once or twice a long time ago, and I just wasn't that thrilled with it.
This was kind of... this one was a terrible movie, but it was one when we were in high school that we always wanted to get our hands on because we wanted to watch it.
Oh.
And I was trying to remember who was the lead. Some of the famous... They had picked some famous people to be in there, and that's kind of what piqued our interest. And the first big person that 2008 Cody was like, yes, we have to watch this, was Jenna Jameson.
Oh, boy.
Fucking zombie strippers.
Zombie strippers.
Yeah,
Oh,
man.
my gosh.
I think there's a UFC fighter in it, too, that... I'm trying to remember. I'm going to hop on IMDb.
There have been so many awful straight-to-video ones, though, like pro wrestlers versus zombies. That's a real thing.
That's
I can't believe
fantastic.
That's a real thing. See, I don't know. Maybe they should have just stayed put, because we've got this plan going into effect now where they're going to try and get out and get to that gas pump.
Well, I think it's the idea of, oh shit, man, we're fucking surrounded. And if we're moving, we got to move soon, because they're building up. They're building up out here.
Yeah,
like,
they already
enjoyed
got a whole bunch. That's the thing about Romero movies too, and they would do this more and more with the later ones. You would get zombies that would have just been killed with whatever stuff they were on, with whatever they were doing. So they would have, there'd be like a police zombie or a nurse zombie or like a band major zombie running around in these things. Most of these guys are pretty normal.
And something else too, I think that kind of set the standards was how the survivors would all come up with great ways on how to fight them. Like here they're making Molotov cocktails, boarding up windows, and kind of see that. And other things with zombies is like how they fought them and the things they come up with and build and make.
You haven't seen any of the Italian knockoff zombie movies they did, have you?
No. What are some famous ones?
One of the ones we're going to be doing for the Halloween marathon is Lucio Fulci's Zombie, which overseas was known as Zombie 2, because overseas Dawn of the Dead was called Zombie in foreign countries.
Oh.
So they put their movie out and called it Zombie 2 to make people think it was a sequel to Dawn of the Dead.
Kind of like Troll 2?
In a way.
Because that was also an Italian director.
Yeah. And then they did another one called Zombie 3, which was supposed to be a sequel to Zombie 2, but that was known as Zombie in the United States. So it's very twisted and confusing. It's just weird, the stuff that they'll get away with in foreign territories. They're just blatantly saying, oh yeah, this is a sequel to this movie, and it's got nothing to do with that movie. Nobody who made the other movie is involved in any way, shape, or form. But that's how they're selling it.
I just saw that Dutch Tilt. Is it Dutch Tilt?
Dutch Tilt, 45 degree angle.
Yeah, I just saw it. Greg,
Again.
Previous movie watch, Greg told me all about the Dutch Tilt.
Yeah, you want to see a Dutch Tilt? Watch Battlefield Earth, I dare you. The entire movie is shot in a Dutch Tilt. It's ridiculous, every single scene. You're supposed to save it for when it means something, like you're showing people being disoriented or something weird going on, so things are kind of askew. No. Every single scene in that movie.
Come on! This key won't work. What's it?
I don't know if that's a great idea.
Yeah, really.
Using firearms on a gas pump. Oh, you had one job. Oh, dude, you had one job. Just pump gas like a normal human.
Now, I think the remake did a little better job with this than this one did. Not saying it's bad, it's good, but the way it happens in the remake is just, I don't know. Oh, something else too. It's not really a zombie movie, but it also bothered me a lot as a kid. Is the remake of The Hills Have Eyes.
No, I never saw that, but I never saw the original or the
Really?
sequel either.
The sequels are
Wes Craven's worst movies.
Yeah, sequels
Those
are
have eyes too.
pretty fucking bad, but I think the third one was The Soldier. But man, that first one just really fucks your mind over.
She's stuck on her seatbelt? I thought those things were supposed to save lives. That's ironic. Here it is, Dutch Tilt. Yeah, again, this music is all from different movies. They also use music from The Devil's Messenger and The Hideous Sun Demon.
Did they have to pay anybody for that?
The 50s and 60s. Probably not. If they did, it was probably, whatever they had to pay was a lot cheaper than actually getting somebody to do a new musical score for them.
I feel like this is how LeBron felt once his contract was up with all the different owners.
You're just saying that because he's black.
No, exactly. You have these old white men chasing down this black man, like, be on my sports team. And I feel like Cooper's character development was purely meant for this scene. It's supposed to be this coward that won't even let him in or go out there and help. Or
Yeah, I imagine at
builds
first
up
he
to
thought
that.
he was dead, though, when he saw the explosion. I think he thought they were all dead.
But then once
If they
he
had just
said
waited
Cooper,
well, yeah, but I mean, if they had waited a few seconds longer, he would have already been in the basement. It might not have hurt him.
yeah. It's just the character development in this movie is so good. At least I think so.
Hey, just say something like, "I'm sorry, I thought you were dead. Stop punching me."
Really.
Can't we all just get along?
And especially have a movie come out at this time period where a black man beats the shit out of a white man.
Drag you out there and feed you those things.
Oh yeah, here we go. There's always
Barbecue.
a scene in all these movies where the zombies chow down. So what they're eating is actually ham. One of the guys who's a zombie, I guess his family had like a slaughterhouse or butcher, so he brought over ham and like
Really?
entrails and stuff from pigs. So it's not like actually disembowelsing humans. Although that would add to some realism.
Man, they're going all in too. I appreciate the commitment.
Just imagine kids watching this.
Yeah.
The first few shows.
Oh,
like, oh my
man.
gosh, what? Oh, geez.
And the thing too, the music kind of creates this sense of suspense while you're outside. But if you notice when they cut to the inside the house, it's peaceful and you just hear cricket. It almost gives you this vibe that that haven is just so safe and peaceful in there.
Mm-hmm.
It's like why leave?
There's supposed to be another broadcast at 3 o'clock.
10 minutes.
Only 10 more minutes? We don't have very long to wait.
Barbara's gone full on cuckoo.
We'd better leave soon. It's 10 minutes to 3.
Yeah, some people don't handle stress very well. Got the old Winchester.
45, I think, right?
This area.
Uh,
I mean, is Willard the nearest town?
I don't know. We were just trying to get to a motel before dark.
You said those things turned your car over. You think we can get it back on its wheels and drive it? Where is it?
Seems like it was pretty far away. Seems like we ran.
Forget it. It's at least a mile.
Johnny has the keys.
You're gonna carry that child a mile through that army of things out there?
I can carry the kid. What's wrong with it?
So the Winchester had lots of bullets. You had a version that was a 44, 40, a 38, 38, 40, 32, 20, and a 22 long.
Who knows what kind of disease those things carry? Is she conscious?
Barely.
does it say how many shots it would have? Depend on the caliber.
I don't know. And he looks like he's using the
Well, one of us
big boy too, so
You're gonna turn it over by yourself?
You can't
44,
start the
40.
car. Johnny has the keys.
It's old school, baby. They still use those in the new Halloween. She's using a Winchester.
You have the car? Where is it?
They use the Winchester in Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah.
The pub's called
the Winchester, yep.
I think everyone's dream in Pittsburgh is to play a zombie in a George Romero movie.
Or to be an actual zombie by being a Steelers fan.
Oh, they already got that market cornered.
Being monitored closely by scientists at all the radiation detection stations. At this
15 round tube magazine.
serious
Tell you what, if a Pittsburgh fan ever learns to count to 7, you'll know they just won another Super Bowl. 6 rings, 6 rings. That's the real Dawn of the Dead there. 6 rings.
into the flesh-eating ghouls. All persons
Search and destroy.
I love this scene, man. This is one of my favorite
Instead of
scenes.
search and destroy, why don't we use the term sweep and clear? Sweep and clear.
So I love this showing the militia with their massive radios and just...
Oh yeah, get all the rednecks out with the guns.
Yes.
This would be like a dream come true, man. It's like, what, you're letting us go out and shoot stuff?
Yeah,
Where do I
exactly.
sign up, man? Again, they said ghoul, they didn't say zombie. This guy looks like Stacy Keach. I was getting a kick out of him. See, doesn't he?
Who's, what did you say he looks like?
Stacy Keach?
Who's that?
Oh my gosh, you're kidding me. You ever see Up in Smoke?
It is Up in Smoke, man. It's been a while. Look him up real quick.
Now, the news guy here, when you cut back to him, let's see. There we go. The guy with the camera, or the news microphone here is Bill Cardell. He was a local Pittsburgh news reporter. His daughter, Lori, is the lead in Day of the Dead.
Oh, okay. I just look up Stacy Keach. Yeah, I recognize him. Yeah, I could see that.
He was Sergeant Stadenko in Up in Smoke. He looks a lot like him.
Well, Chief McClellan, how long do you think it will take you until you get the situation under control? Well, that's pretty hard to say. We don't know how many of them there are. We know when we find them, we can kill them. Are they slow moving, Chief? Yeah, they're dead. They're all messed up.
I love that.
And you
They're
gotta-
dead. They're all messed up.
You got to think too. This got to be one of the very first movies where they use this style. Not really found footage, but just creates extreme realism. Like you said, documentary. The way these guys are communicating is how you expect a real news thing to go down. So
Yeah.
you first time watching this, you're like, "Holy shit! Did this happen?"
Bill Cardell.
I remember watching the Blair Witch Project for the first time, and it was, at least for several years, it was like known to our friend group that was real footage, found footage.
Well, that's the way they sold that movie.
Yeah.
I remember seeing the promotional stuff for it, and they went all out pushing the idea that, hey, we found this footage from 1994, and it's just now getting put in the theaters. This is going to be a thing. And people went nuts for that. And then everybody copied that, too.
Yeah.
Power lines are down.
See, it's all fun and games until the lights go out. Once the power goes out, that's when your trouble's going to start.
Haven't you had enough?
Look, 2 people are dead already on account of that guy. Take a look out that window, Click it.
You still don't realize that the real threat is outside. Now, here we go. They're getting weapons again. And they aren't talking to each other either, so it's like they all just decided at the same time to pick up rocks or, cheryl eggs and just try to start beating their way in that house.
Like a hive mentality or some shit.
Yeah. Nobody told them to do that. One didn't get up here and start grunting and say, hey guys, get some rocks. It's time to take the house.
Well,
we just want to get in.
I think where George A. Romero kind of jumped the shark was when, I forget which one it is, but the humans started talking to the zombies, like, hey, leave us alone, and you guys can go over here, and the zombies kind of had a leader and kind of led them off.
Oh, that was, I think that was Land of the Dead, where they had the one
Yeah, Land of the Dead.
that had, like, the gas station guy, the big black guy with the
Yeah.
coveralls and all that. And
With
they
the
were-
AUG, I
Yeah,
think,
they were
yeah.
using, like, machine guns, too. It was kind of like, yeah... Like, yeah, that's a bit much. I said, I didn't particularly care for the movie that much. It had some other stuff I didn't like they used a little CG, which is never my favorite thing, and they had some of that fake blood.
What's
Fake CG blood.
the one aspect I do like though was, oh god, what is his name? I think you just mentioned him. You said you hated him.
John Leguizamo?
Yeah.
Oh.
Didn't he become a zombie? He's like, just let me die and become a zombie. I want to see how the other side lives.
I don't know, maybe. I wish he would have got his wish. That movie for me didn't really do all that much. I wanted to like it, but... Yep, he finally had enough of your shit, dude. You pushed him and pushed him and pushed him.
And
Like,
all goes
yeah,
to
they're
shit.
slow, but you know what? There's a lot more of them than there are you, and they're just going to keep on coming. Yeah, I definitely think the slow zombies are better.
Yeah, because I mean, the movie starts out where you're
I
like,
say
oh, they
they
can
make
handle
more
this.
sense. They just... There's no way something that's dead and decayed is going to be able to run at a full sprint. Like Usain Bolt. When it's, like, rotting and its muscles are decayed. Yet they do that in the remake. I think even towards the end of the movie when they're trying to get away on that bus or whatever they're driving on, they're getting chased and those things are running at a flat-out sprint. They made that mall for months
Yeah.
at that point. Going back to patient zero there. Ew. And see, this is great. How the kid just goes for a weapon. Doesn't even think about just trying to overpower her. She goes right for the trowel there. Chocolate syrup for everyone.
It's almost more like they had rabies or some shit, you know? Kind of like Crazies, where it was...
What, in this?
Yeah, where they kind of still had a memory of what they used to be and how to use tools and...
Yeah, again, they never call them zombies, so that whole thing didn't get established until later.
And it's funny you mentioned that. I never realized that was Patient Zero there.
Yeah.
You made me realize something I never
There's
missed.
Johnny.
Oh, hey, brother. Which kind of brings it back to the reason I felt like he
keeping it
had
in the family.
they had the driving gloves at the beginning. Or so at the
Yeah,
end.
you'd recognize
yeah,
them
you'd
without the
recognize
glasses,
it.
yeah.
And they didn't zoom in on the gloves or whatever. They made them noticeable, but which is another thing I
Yeah,
like.
he holds his hand up. You definitely see that there's the gloves. See, I don't know. The thing that's weird about the zombies is they're always after food. They're always eating, but can they digest what they eat? Would they just walk around with like big fat swollen stomachs after a while?
Yeah, you think.
I think they wouldn't be able to process all that.
Well, if they needed to continue moving, then you think shooting them anywhere else would also kill them.
I don't know. All I know is she did a good job chowing off her dad's arm.
Yeah,
She
cleaned
killed
that shit
Mom,
off
probably
quick.
took a bite out of her, and then she's up there trying to get him. And ironically, he ends up in the cellar after all, after not wanting to go down there. But it seems to be working. You just go down there and stay quiet, and they'll piss off eventually. Yeah, he's been waiting to do this since the movie started. Yeah, once you croak, it only takes a few minutes till you come back up.
Now, did you ever have any friends come over and you're like, hey, let's watch this movie, and then they get in trouble with their parents?
No, nothing like that.
Really?
Like I said, I played the hell out of the tape, though. I watched that thing all the time. But my
So-
dad liked it, so he didn't have a problem with it, especially by the time 1986 rolls around.
I know.
Relatively tame to some of the stuff. I mean, that was the same year The Fly came out, so you know, compare A and B.
I had a friend, because my parents were pretty loose. They didn't care. I watched, one of the first movies we ever watched in theaters was the first Matrix and the first Blade. Parents didn't really care about ratings.
Nice.
Which I
They
don't...
just drop you off.
No, I went with my dad.
Okay.
It's kind of similar to you.
So
My
you'd be
dad
one
like
of those
this.
kids.
Yeah. So one time we went to go watch Finding Nemo. Of course, that shit was fucking sold out. Seemed like every weekend we went to go watch it was sold out. But me and my friend went to Blockbuster and we nabbed a copy of Black Hawk Down because like, I love war movies. Let's watch this. And that's the first time I realized not everyone's parents are the same.
Whew.
Because
Bet you probably got some heat for that one.
yeah, his mom was not too happy that we watched Black Hawk Down. That's when I realized like, oh shit, my parents are pretty rare.
Yeah, lucky, man. Like my dad, we'd go rent movies all the time on the weekends. Like Friday night was like movie night. He'd come home with whatever, and it's like, all right, what'd you get? Just sit down and go to town and get 2 or 3 movies.
Yeah, man.
Stay up late, and he'd make popcorn, and we'd be sitting there chowing and watching stuff. It was fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, my dad will definitely watch a movie a weekend. The first Incredible Hulk with the fucking poodle on crack. That was the first time I think I realized.
Eric Bana?
Yeah, I was
Oh,
like,
God.
wow, I realized movies can be bad too.
Yeah. See, I like this when you see the next day, and you see the guys out there with the rifles, and the guys with the cops and the dogs and everything. It seems like stuff is like getting back under control.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just this one night where everything, like the shit hits the fan.
And your main character, the badass, the survivor,
Don't
he
do
got
it.
through.
Don't do it yet.
He got through
Don't do it yet.
it all. And it's like, it's hopeful, it's bright out, the militia's pushing.
Check it out. You tell your bill. Yeah, cheaper.
Yeah, like I say, it seems like, you know, everything's cool. You know, they're taking care of business.
Thank you. We should be wrapped up here about 3 or 4 more hours. We'll probably get into Willard's.
Like it was just one night, and then America's gonna get itself back together.
Nick, you and the rest of these men want to come with me?
As opposed to, oh, things got worse overnight, and then the next day, they're getting worse and worse and
Everything
worse.
appears to be under control.
It's kind of see the National Guard mixed in with the police, mixed in with militia.
Mhm.
That's so cool.
Because, yeah, I don't know, the way the movie's gone so far, you're looking for that, like, one little ray of light at the end. Because everybody in that house has been wiped out. Except the main guy.
They need you down there by the barn. These guys are rolling the wagons down. I only need a few men to check out the house. Somebody had a cookout here, Vince. Yeah, sure looks like it, Tom.
I don't know, am I weird that I think it looks like it'd be a hell of a lot of fun to just go walking around with those dudes and shooting zombies?
Dude, you're not alone, man. The first time I watched it, I was like,
Maybe I'm
holy
a
shit.
weirdo.
No, you're not alone, dude. There's so much people out there that are like that. You see people driving around with zombie
Yeah, it's
survival
true.
trucks.
Yeah, now
and-
people have zombie, like you said, those stickers on their cars and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know that they would have no chance if something actually happened.
And it'd be fucking horrendous watching your family get ripped apart and eaten, and you're running out of food and you're fucking starving. There's
It
nothing
would, but
fun.
I mean, the clowns that have those stickers are usually like the ones that would be the least prepared to actually encounter any kind of zombie stuff. They're usually hipsters.
Nick, Tony, Steve, you want to get out in that field and build me a bonfire?
All right, getting down to the last couple minutes. You want to talk about the ending? Why you like it so much?
Yeah, it's just the whole movie's depressing, and then everything looks hopeful. Sun's up. You're like, wow, he's finally rescued. He's gonna get out there with them. He's gonna fit in perfect with these guys. He's a fucking badass that just kills shit, and he knows a lot about them. You're like, finally.
All right, Vince, hit him in the head, right between the eyes.
Damn.
Boom. That's it. All because he didn't say, "Hey, don't shoot.
Yeah.
I'm
and
with you guys." And they've tried to put some kind of racial meaning into that where, oh, it's, the rednecks end up shooting the black guy anyway because racists. But if he had said something and identified himself,
Yeah.
and then they shot him anyway,
Yeah.
you could make that point.
Well, I want to talk about this too because this is really cool. Think about how.
Like the still photos?
Yeah, think about
Yes.
how early on that was. I can't really think of something before with the radio in the background playing, the fucking using meat hooks on people and pulling bodies like that.
Yeah.
God damn, I couldn't imagine being a 7-year-old in the 60s where the scariest thing you saw was invaders from whatever.
Yeah.
And then you go to this
Yeah.
and you're left with this eerie feeling sitting in this dark theater. No. I mean, now I understand, like, when you're watching these pieces, you got to remember this came out a long time ago, and you got to have
Well,
understanding.
1968, and here they are dragging bodies and throwing them on a bonfire.
Yeah,
How many
man.
times did that happen in Vietnam? It's crazy. It all comes home.
The helicopter.
Yep. Get some. All right. Well, I suppose we should sign off here. We're just about done. This has been your boy G Money Clip and Commando Cody.
I apologize, probably a little off track here and there, but I think that's what these are for.
It's all
just
right.
to-
Like talking about this. This is one of my favorite movies. Hopefully, it's one of yours too. If you stayed with us this whole time, and hopefully you get a kick out of it. And we'll put this up on our site so you can watch the whole thing, thanks to public domain. And happy Halloween to everybody out there. Gather yourself around a nice bonfire and have some candy, get some popcorn,
and human
and
parts.
watch the movies. And we'll catch you later on down the road. Bye-bye.